Why? Or he'll give me the wrong answer.
All right. So we are going to finish up this section, and I just want to remind you guys that what we learned yesterday is that in a similar polygon, all of your angles are going to be congruent that are corresponding, okay? And then your corresponding sides are going to be the same ratio. So if you took the smallest side here over the smallest side here and reduce that, that should equal the second smallest over the second smallest, third smallest over third smallest, and the largest over the largest. Okay, that's what similar figures or polygons are going to have. So we're going to finish up these 2 pages, and one of the things that I didn't copy onto this page that I can show you from yesterday is that we can assume that each of the polygons are similar that are in the questions we're doing, and they want us to find the value of the variable, okay? So in this one, we have 2 variables, and they don't have any angles marked. So what we would do for this one is we would assume that like this side here, whoops, this side here would correspond with that side there just by how they're drawn, okay? So what we would do is we would know then that this side and this side are proportional, okay? Or corresponding, you can think of. And then we need to find x and we need to find y. Now, if you only have like a pencil and you don't want to change colors at all, what you can do to distinguish, and I didn't say this yesterday, but just from where this side and this side are, we can assume that those are the corresponding sides. What you could do is maybe make a triangle around these 2, okay? To show that those 2 are corresponding, make circles around here, maybe make rectangles around those 2, okay? So we also, let's just deal with my x right now, okay? We have to write a proportion. And as I said yesterday, when you do this, you could go from the blue over the blue in one ratio equals pink over pink in the second ratio. So I could go 4 over 6 equals 3 over x. Okay? Then some people like, bless you, some people like to stay in the same figure, and they would go blue over pink equals blue over pink, and that would be fine too. Okay? So now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to solve this, and I taught you a shortcut way where you can just multiply these 2 that are across from each other and divide by 4. And 18 divided by 4, is that 4.5? Is that what you guys got? I believe. Okay? Now, we still have to find y. That's another thing they wanted. So y plus 1 is here, and I could use a rectangle for these. Okay? Y plus 1 and 8 are going to correspond. So I am going to use the blue sides again, and then the yellow sides. So I'm going to go 4 over 6. I'm going to go blue over blue equals yellow over yellow. So y plus 1 over 8. Does everyone get like how I'm putting these in order? Like blue over blue equals yellow over yellow? That makes sense? Okay, so if I multiply these 2, I get 32. If I multiply these 2, it's 6 times y plus 1. Okay, So then I have 32 equals, if I distribute this 6, I get 6y plus 6. Then I'm going to subtract 6, and 6y equals 26. Divide by 6, and y would equal, if you take 26 divided by 6, that would be 4 1/3, I believe.
Yeah.
4.33. Okay, and that would be your answer. Right? So again, if you get a really ugly decimal, I'd probably redo it and make sure you're doing it correctly. Now, when we go to this one, we're doing the same thing. Okay, we can assume those two are similar. It says that in the directions. Now, 2 of my sides are equal. These two are both 4, and these two are both x plus 5. So I only have to find x once. So what I can do, this 4 is between an angle that has 1 arc and 2 arcs. This x plus 5 is between an angle with 1 arc and 2 arcs. So those two are corresponding. Okay? Now, if you ever have two sides that are just whole numbers with no variables, that tells you you're going to use those. And notice this 3 is between two angles that both have 2 arcs. That's going to correspond to this 9, which is between two angles that both have 2 arcs. Okay? When I go to write that proportion, I'm going to do pink over pink. So I'm going to go 4 over x plus 5 equals green over green. So 3 over 9. You also could have stayed in the same triangle and went pink over green equals pink over green. That would be fine too. Now we're going to cross multiply. 4 times 9 is 36, and that equals 3 times x plus 5. And then we get 36 equals 3 times x is 3x. 3 times 5 is 15. Okay? Then what we're going to do is solve for x. So we're going to subtract 15. And 3x equals, this would be 21. And then divide by 3. And x is 7. Now let's see if we needed to find anything else. There's no y in that one, and they're just telling us to find x, so that would be our answer. Okay? Now if we go to this page, it says find the value of each variable if triangle JLM is similar to triangle QST. Okay? So, first of all, whenever I see one side that is a whole number, I want to use that if I can. That side is between an angle with 1 arc and 2 arcs, so that's going to correspond with the 2 of the other triangle. Okay? That's between an angle with 1 arc and 2 arcs. Now, notice that I have an x and a y that I have to solve for. Let's start with the x, this here. Now, how you can tell which side that corresponds to over here, notice this 6x minus 3 is between an angle with 2 arcs and no arcs. So that means it's going to correspond with 3 because that side is between an angle with 2 arcs and no arcs. Do you guys get that? Is that okay? So you look at the side and look at the angles it's between, and that is what tells you what side it corresponds with. Now I can go ahead and solve that, And when you do that, maybe this time we'll go and stay in the same triangle, and we'll go 4 purple over green in this triangle. And then you would have to go purple over green in the other triangle. So if you went purple over green, you'd have to go purple over green. And then we would just cross multiply. 4 times 3 is 12. And then it's 2 times 6x minus 3. Then we would distribute. And we would get 12 equals 12x minus 6. Add 6. And then 12x would be 18. Divide by 12. And x would equal, is that 1.5?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now we still have to solve for y. So that would be what I would want to do there. This side right here, if I make a triangle around it, is between an angle with 1 arc and no arc. That would correspond to this 5, which is between an angle with 1 arc and no arc. Now in this case, I would not want to use the green ones, okay? Because I already found x, I'm going to just forget about the green, and I'm going to use the purple, and I'm going to use the yellow. Now again, you can go purple over purple equals yellow over yellow. You could go yellow over yellow equals purple over purple. Or you could stay in the same triangle and go like purple over yellow equals purple over yellow. I think I'm going to stay in the same one. Again, I'm going to go purple over yellow equals purple over yellow. And you can easily do that by using a pen and a pencil, or you could do 2 colored pencils or something. So now what I'm going to do here is cross multiply. So 4 times 5 is 20, and that's going to equal 2 times 3y minus 2. So now I get 20 equals, here I'm going to distribute. 2 times 3y is 6y, and then 2 times 2 is 4. Then I'm going to add 4, and I get 6y equals 24. Divide by 6, and y is 4. Okay? Everybody understand that? So now we're going to go to our last page, and we're going to learn one additional thing. Okay? So what this theorem is saying is if you knew what the ratio of this side over this side was, which in this case, if I went triangle ABCD is similar to this, the ratio would be 2 over 3, okay? What that is saying is if this is in the ratio of 2 over 3, the perimeter of this would be in the same ratio as the perimeter of this. It would also be 2 over 3. So if I went the perimeter of this, which is 20, over the perimeter of this, which is 30, and I reduce that, it would also be 2 over 3. So what they're going to do is we would be able to find what's called the scale factor, or the ratio between two figures. And then what they're going to ask us for is what is one of the perimeters, or what is one of the sides, and then they'll ask us for the scale factor. Okay? So in this one right here, they tell us that these two polygons are similar. But this one, when they ask us for the scale factor, they specify which one to put on top. And notice they want A, B, C, D on top and P, Q, R, S, T on the bottom. So I want to look for two sides that are corresponding that I can just reduce down. Now here's how you could do it. I have AB. AB is the first two letters of that one, so that's going to correspond to PQ. Okay, so AB is going to correspond to PQ. I don't know either of those at this point. Yep.
I would say because BC coordinates, I believe, to QP, but AB and BC are congruent.
Mm-hmm.
So you know the measure of BC, so you can use that to figure out the measure of, well, never mind.
That still
'Cause I
doesn't
think
give me.
on here, which one is it? RS is shown.
Yep.
So because CD is equal to AE, and AE coordinates to RS, you can figure out that it's 4/3.
Yes. So
Yeah.
here is what Christian is saying. When I started with 8. 8 would correspond, these two are going to correspond with these two down here, but I don't know either of those. So that's not going to help me. But then when I look, which one down here am I given? I'm given this, okay? Which is equal, and sometimes when I enlarge things, it's kind of hard to tell, but these two both have 4 dashes, so these two are equal. Just like these two are equal, and just like these two are equal, okay? So what I can do here, now that I write it like that, is I can take AE over RS. And I know that because up here, AE is the first and last, and PT is the first and last. So it's actually not that I'm using this one, I'm using this one, okay? So AE is the first and last, that's gonna correspond to PT. So my ratio is going to be 4/3. Do you guys get that? Okay. So this is 4/3. That's my first answer. Now what it says is find the scale factor, we did that, and find the perimeter of each polygon. Do we know the perimeter of this just by adding these 5 going around? Do we know it already? Yeah. So we could go 8 plus 4 plus 6 plus 4 plus 8, okay? That's gonna give me what, 16, 20, 30? Is that right?
Yep.
So we're gonna say the perimeter of A, B, C, D, E is 30. That's my second answer. Okay. Now there's 2 different ways that you can find the perimeter down here. You could do some ratios and do like 8/x equals 4/3, and you could get what this side is here, which would give us this side. Then you could go 4/3 equals 6/y, and you could find what this is, and that would give you the perimeter of this, because then you'd have it all. The other way that you can do it, if you want to, is that your scale factor of your sides is going to equal the scale factor of the perimeters. That is what this theorem says. So we know that the scale factor of our sides is 4/3. That is going to equal the scale, or one of the, nope, sorry, I'm lying. Perimeter, that's going to equal the perimeter of A, B, C, D, E, over the perimeter of, what is that? PQRST. Okay, so now I can go ahead and solve that because I have 4 over 3 equals. I know the perimeter of ABCDE is 30, and I can find the perimeter of this bottom one, and I can just do cross products. So if you had found each individual side here, that would have been 3 steps. If you do it this way, it's 1 step, okay? So what we're gonna do now is we're just gonna go ahead and solve that. So I'm gonna multiply these, which is 90, divide it by 4, which would be 22.5, thank you. That is going to be the perimeter of PQRST. But like I said, if you had rather done proportions to find these are going to be equal, a proportion to find this, and then add them together, you could have done it that way too. Okay, let's go down to this. So in this one, it says our 2 triangles are similar. And then they give us what each of the sides is. So AB is 5, that's labeled. BC is 6, AC is 7, and DE is 3. They want the perimeter of the given triangle, and the given triangle is this right here. Okay? Now, in the last one, what I did is I used this to do it. Okay? I'm going to show you the other way when I do this one right here. So what we could do in this one is just call DFX and call EFY and find each of those. Now, when you look at what sides are corresponding, notice AB are the first 2 and DE are the second 2, so these 2 correspond. Notice that BC down here is the last 2, so that's going to correspond to EF down here. And then AC is the first and last, that's this one. That's going to correspond to DF right here, okay? So I could do 2 proportions here, one to find X and one to find Y. Neither of them would be hard. So do you guys get if I just want to do X, I can ignore the pink down here? And I could go green over green, which is 5 over 3, equals yellow over yellow, which is 7 over X. Then we would cross multiply. So when I do that, I'm going to go 7 times 3, which is 21, divided by 5, and that's actually going to give me a yucky answer, isn't it? Like, what is that? 21 divided by 5 would be 5 or 4.2? Okay. So not bad. Okay, so that's my X. Now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to write that up here. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is find my Y. So I could go green over green equals pink over pink. Green over green is 5 over 3. Pink over pink is 6 over Y. And cross multiply, you'd go 3 times 6, which is 18, divided by 5. Is that 3.6?
It is.
All right. So now my Y is 3.6. And then can I find the perimeter of DEF?
Yep.
Yes. And when I do that, 7.8, did you get 10.8?
Yes.
Okay. So your assignment for Monday,
I don't know anymore. Can you put
what is the what?
parameter?
It was 10.8. No, 11.8. No, 10.8, I'm sorry. Okay, so in Schoology, there's a link to this worksheet, and then you're gonna do these problems in the book. I'm trying not to make copies of worksheets, I'm trying to be paper efficient. So, just write all that out on your notebook, and then you like the worksheet. Next year, I think it's really gonna be bad for what we can copy. Like, do you guys think, honest opinion, and I know some of you don't really use the notes, but how many of you feel like the notes